Well, now on the show, we're going to take a look at one of the comedy shows that I've been able to catch up with at this year's festival. And I have to say that my award for best show as part of this year's festival so far has to go to the guys from Bombastic Joe with their show, Did You Just Call Us Big Jerks? Now, for people out there that have listened to the show before, you'll know that I am a huge fan of sketch comedy. One of my two of my favourite television shows of all time on Australian television, of course, were The Late Show, which is what basically got me into radio in the first place, and of course also the Ronnie Johns Half Hour. Now, when people ask me what some of the most underrated television shows in the world are, I say the Ronnie Johns Half Hour, because that show used to have me in stitches all the time. Now, the same thing happened with Bombastic Joe. I have to say, these guys are the best at sketch comedy that's going around in Australia at the moment. Now, I saw the Umbilical Brothers as part of this year's festival, and I loved their sketch comedy, but let me just say that I felt that Bombastic Joe was even better than that. John, Ollie, and Ed. Remember those names, because these guys are going to become global sensations, I think. This show, Did You Just Call Us Big Jerks, is absolutely fantastic. They didn't have to use things like green screens or anything like that. And I'm not putting down the Umbilical Brothers because they did, because I thought their show was fantastic as well. But these guys are doing that old-fashioned sketch comedy. Now, of course, sketch comedy on television, we all grew up with it. Full Frontal, Little Britain, shows like that. And they've got the benefit of doing it in a television studio. If they mess up something or something goes horribly wrong, they can just go back and do it. And they've got props and everything that they can use. And basically, they've got a whole television network funding that. These guys with Bombastic Joe, they do this sketch comedy show on stage with minimal props. And yeah, little things happen sometimes and it just adds to the show. Like there was a mustache that wouldn't stay on one of the guys properly on the night that I went along and saw the show. And you know what? It just ends up adding to the humor. So does the fact that these guys make themselves laugh. I mean, hey, these guys are doing such funny stuff. They had me in stitches. They had the audience in stitches. Of course, they're going to make themselves laugh occasionally as well. And as an audience, you kind of live for that moment when you see them starting to giggle and looking at each other and trying to control it. But look, these guys, one of the things that sometimes I know people don't like about sketch comedy is you might sit through 2 great sketches and then sit through 10 really boring ones. Doesn't happen with this show. This show is amazing with the fact that nearly every single one of the sketches works. I actually don't want to spoil too many of the sketches at all for people out there that haven't seen it, because I think part of the thing that I enjoyed the most about this show was being surprised by every sketch. But look, I'll give you a couple of teasers. There's a great Gary Ablett Jr. sketch in there that everybody will be able to relate to. My favourite sketch for the entire night had to be either the prank phone call, and I won't spoil too much of that because I thought it worked so brilliantly well that you need that element of surprise. And I also loved a great little sketch where a waiter is offended by the words "you too." That's all I'll say, but look, it was absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that you never know what's going to happen next with any of the sketches in the show. Love the fact that occasionally the performers go down into the audience to do a little bit of a bit as well. Don't worry, you're not going to get dragged up on stage to be part of a sketch. They literally go and sit behind the audience kind of thing in a couple of parts. But this is an absolutely fantastic show. If you've been saving up your money and you can only afford to go to one show this year at the Comedy Festival, make sure it is Bombastic Joe's Did You Just Call Us Big Jerks, because this is an absolutely fantastic comedy show. Go and see it straight away.